questions we are having. How is your experience in the conference?
The experience of the conference up till now, it's very nice, very good speakers, somewhat disorganized because of the delays. Yesterday, for example, the time allotted to me was 30 minutes and they cut it down to 15. So, you know, that those kinds of things are happening, which could be avoided, I suppose. Except, of course.
Otherwise?
No, otherwise, the arrangements are very nice, being accorded due respect, and transportation is being provided, and so all of that is extremely suitable, and I appreciate all the efforts that you people have made.
This is the first time School of Management Sciences has organized international conference, and that is on spirituality. And what's your reaction?
The topic itself. This is why I was attracted to the conference. I saw the announcement on the internet, and as I said, I retired 4 years ago, and since then I have not written a paper conference. Before that, every year 2 or 3 times, but I sort of walked out of that whole life. But when I saw this topic, I had actually a contrary reaction. I said, first of all, I don't think it is a global management crisis. So I wanted to stand up in defense of the noble profession of management. Yes, there are a few bad managers, and the greed of the managers in USA, especially the Goldman Sachs and big investment companies, had led to this disaster. But that is actually inbred into the American system, and because after all these people were doing were maximizing profit, which is what they're supposed to do, which is what the investors expect them to do. But they were cutting corners. They were taking risks with the people's money, with the investors' money, that were far in excess of what they should be doing. So that was one reaction I wanted to come and say that this is not quite right. Plus, when you use the word crisis, that implies we've got to come up with some fast solution. Okay. And my feeling was that what is happening in the world, including the financial collapse as well, especially the Middle Eastern turmoil, and our own protest movements against corruption, is part of some very long-term process, and that it is actually an indication of a spiritual awakening that's going on. And that's the point I wanted to come and make, that it's not a crisis, and it's not a calling for a spiritual paradigm from smart people like us to solve the problem, but that we should recognize the nature of the awakening that's taking place. And I'm actually happy to report that many of the speakers here sort of agree with me, saying no radical change like that can be imposed. Dr. Dave said that. And then the Swami Suddhananda yesterday promised that by 2013 you will see a radical transformation in the world. Well, that's the transformation that I perceive is happening right now.
Definitely. In fact, the changes there is a discussion, deliberations going on, and some of the findings will also come out. Basically, spirituality, and when we talk about spiritual paradigm for surmounting global management crisis, how far the things like spiritualism going to give the answer to such crisis, or you can say any kind of problem which is happening around the world?
In the end, this is part of the evolution of human consciousness since the dawn of consciousness. And I believe that there are periods in this evolution in the past as well as in the future where a critical mass of awareness, awakening occurs, which then lifts society up to a next level. So that's what I believe is happening, that at a certain point there is now many more millions of people who are now looking for the answers within. and giving up the idea that materialism, having more money, more goods, more luxury, it brings happiness. Now, yoga has been saying that for thousands of years, that that's not where it's going to come from. But now I think there are a lot more people around the world, and partly as a result of the efforts of Swami Vivekananda, for example. We went to New York 1920, and you know, that's when a lot of movement. Today, if you go to USA, almost you know, every state has 4 or 5 of these yoga ashrams and yoga retreats where they provide, and there's a lot more interest in yoga. So I think it will lead that what the yogis have promised, that this is how humanity will rise, human consciousness will become closer to Ram Raj. I do believe in that.
So basically, we already asked a question about the spirituality, and others means the resource person came here. This is the same question I am asking you. How do you define spirituality?
Inner journey. The need to inquire within. That is not something that everybody takes up. It is also not something that our education system emphasizes. And yet it's that inquiry, that persistent inquiry, because you always have doubts. You always, if I have let us say an interaction with some negative energy there, I get angry with somebody. The reaction is to try to find the blame for that, or try to understand it. My reaction has always been different. Once I have lost my temper and had that interaction, I cool off very quickly. But for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months, I'll be pondering, thinking about my reaction. Why did I allow myself to lose patience? And that inquiry then leads to effort to change yourself in ways where you don't allow the negative energy to flow out, and then only allow positive energy to manifest itself. And that changes you in the end after many years of that practice.
That's your way of finding out the definition of spirituality.
Yes, spirituality means constant inquiry within for your own answers to why your behavior is this way, and of course also you're trying to understand why other people behave. But other people's behavior you cannot understand. You cannot get into the head of another person. You cannot feel another person's anger. Anger is something that is experienced within us, and no matter how articulately I describe my anger to you, you have not felt it. You have seen a description of it. So that's why I believe that in order for us to understand people, humanity, you have to look within. And then when you look within, you eventually find out that you're not an individual ego by yourself, that it is a mass of consciousness, and you're just part of that mass of consciousness.
When third world or second world, I should say, accepted globalization, there was a lot of justification that globalization will give a very good answer to the destitutes as well as have-nots. Has it provided, or we are searching through spiritualism some answers to them?
Globalization, economic globalization has provided prosperity to a certain extent to people who were otherwise unable to develop their resources. And that, however, has led also to an attraction towards consumerism, and that whole notion that you can be happy by having all these things, and having beautiful women and all of those kinds of things. For the East, that is the danger. For India, that is the danger, that too many of our people will begin to pursue that. But I do believe that the spirit of yoga is so deeply embedded in our culture that danger we will be able to overcome, that the majority response And I see that in our young people. Majority response is an awareness, a political awakening, a social awakening, the NGOs, young people volunteering, and of course even our capitalists, Aziz Premji, acting like Bill Gates, giving back to society. That has actually been part of our culture for a long time. The Birlas did that, the Jains believe in that, and so that will, I think, triumph over. I'm completely convinced that this century is India's century. That China is not going to reach the pinnacles that it is trying to.
You are saying that this century will be India's century, how? Will spiritualism be a very important ism to provide the answer? That's why it would be India's century?
Yes, certainly. Because what China is doing is pursuing its economic development now at a breakneck speed. But at the same time, it's killing off any traces of spirituality. And that's why I'm saying China will not succeed in conquering the world. It may triumph economically over India and have greater GDP and all of that. But it will be India to which the world will look for a balance between the material. We all need to eat, and we all want to be comfortable. There's nothing wrong with all of that. We would all like air conditioners in hot Varanasi. So there's nothing wrong with pursuing those goals and desires. But when is enough enough? That line China is not able to draw, USA is not able to draw. I think Indians will be able to draw that.
So we can say that the old value system in India, like simple living, high thinking, otherwise one has to stop the greed, or you can say it's a transformation in the form of consumerism. This is what India will be able to avoid.
Yes, I think with at least some illustrious examples of the exception to that rule, like billion-dollar homes in Mumbai by you-know-who. But you see the reaction of the people of India to that kind of thing. They're not awed by that. They're not saying, oh, wow, this is where we want to go. They're laughing at the man. They're saying, what foolishness is this? What kind of ego-boosting effort is that? Why doesn't he use all of that money to help society better itself? And that reaction will persist from the masses because, as I said, I think this is very deeply embedded in our culture.
When we talk about US, you spend a lot of time in US. How do you find that something which happened in US affected the world in 2008? India was not affected that much. Now it's the time for Europe to feel or suffer from the economic meltdown. Greece, the bigger one, and there are other political turmoil which is taking place in Africa. There is something which requires a better solution in the form of spiritualism.
In the sense that spiritualism will bring a better balance in people's lives about consuming versus growing or developing themselves. Because what happened in USA, of course, is their entire economy depends on consumer expense, consumer purchases. And so they have been encouraging their citizens, and this is also true of Western Europe. In two ways they're making a mistake. One is they're saying consume, consume, consume. And the savings rate in USA is a negative savings rate up until recently. And that's because people are living beyond their means. Way, way beyond their means. Credit is so easily available, so they are indebted. And they are not very smart.
Means they have not taken any lesson in 2008, whatever happened. No. Lehman Brothers, Merrill Lynch, these were the certain examples.
No, that is what troubles me about America, because it's the political leadership themselves that goes out and says the way we are going to regain our economy is for people to spend. So the government, the second mistake the government has been making is subsidizing consumption by giving money, by giving tax breaks to people. saying, no, go out and spend this money.
It's increasing the greed among the people once again and leading towards consumerism.
It again trying to pump up consumerism, because that's all that the capitalist economy knows, because consumption is what the GDP is all about. That's consumption leads to production, and production leads to profit. And so that's how they organize their economy. Whereas, for example, it's private consumption. The infrastructure in USA, sir, today is worse than in many third world countries, because they put up an excellent infrastructure, 40,000 miles of highway, interstate highway, after World War II. And lots of investments were made in infrastructure. But since then, they have not maintained upkeep. In Minnesota, it was just 3 years ago, a bridge across an entire river, while there was traffic on it, collapsed. This is in USA I'm talking about. So infrastructure is gone. The other thing that they did after World War II is provided money to educate all of the returning soldiers and their families, called the GI Bill. Well, that educated generation is what has brought us the information technology revolution, the internet, and all of the science but since then, their educational system they've neglected. Now they keep cutting back on it, and you know, not having a national vision for education. And so this is what we are seeing now. We have, you know, presidents in USA who are no smarter than the peons. That's what's happening, because they're not educating their people. They're not educating their people, you know, and this is a shame. This is one of the reasons I left academia.
It means you want to say that Obama always tries to say that Indians and Chinese are taking away your job, but they do not understand why they are taking away the job, the kind of commitment, the kind of collective responsiveness they have shown through their family and value system. Somewhere it is there. Is it not so?
Obama is making the point that we in USA, Obama is actually the only one that has a strategic vision for education. He says we don't want our companies to take jobs, I mean to employ Chinese and Indian. We want Americans to be able to fill the job. But the reality today is you have a company like Microsoft. It can't find educated American engineers to do the kind of work that it has to do. And that's one reason why he keeps coming back to India. And he actually argues with his own government, saying, no, increase the quota for, we need these people. Our entire economy is now dependent on the imported talent. And that's because their education system has failed. The international comparisons, that they have these tests on science and math preparation that they have been conducting every 4 years for almost 20 years now. America was leading the pack in terms of its fourth graders, and these are school children, and they have international tests. Back 25 years ago, America was always performing best. Now it's performing below Bangladesh, sir. American children, American fourth graders and eighth graders have poorer knowledge about the world as well as math and science than Bangladeshi children of the same age.
So it means the way we are thinking about, considering about the various aspects of spiritualism, especially in our organization, this is the first time it is happening. Do you think this is a good initiative?
This is an excellent initiative because it has started the talk, at least. It's always good to get dialogue going. But we also in India have the tendency of talk and never do. And that I'm afraid of, that kind of thing happening. So I'll be interested more in seeing what the outcome of this conference is in terms of real change, either in the classroom, what you're teaching, what we are teaching to our young people, which is really the main purpose, or should be the main purpose of something like this. Because after all, this is a student institution. This is focused on the student. And out of this conference, we should be able to have better idea of how to teach our young people to balance this spiritual and material better in their own work, in management, as well as in their own lives. So I think we'll just have to wait and see what transpires. But I know you people, our Indian conference, generally then after the conference you come together, the organizers as well as the faculty, and process that, and then perhaps build a report and try to make that available to the public, and so that I think will be the useful outcome out of this.
Do you think that there is now a time for B school to inculcate value and ethics in their subject, or you can say a part of their syllabus?
Oh gosh, it has always been the time to do it. Yes, but you see, I do think that values can't be taught as such. What we can do for our people or for our students is to make sure that they understand the value infrastructure upon which all of everything is built. For example, the notion, the free market economy. There is a value foundation to that, which is that people will be honest with each other. The whole point is a freely entered into transaction where the assumption, and Adam Smith specifically mentioned this assumption, where information is freely and completely available, accurate information available to both parties. But now the way the capitalist economy runs is that each party or transaction tries to keep as much information as it's possible secret. Well, if we can then communicate that, hey, there's nothing wrong with capitalism as such, but if you're being fair, if your product is defective in some way, well, that should be part of the transaction, the knowledge in the transaction. So that's the difference we can make in our students' lives, and they are going to become managers, to emphasize that you're making a transaction. Be honest. Integrity is important. Trust is important. And all of that, I think, is some of the kind of lessons we can take from something like this.
Would you like to suggest some model so that this SMS can take it up to the next higher level?
A model? My goodness, no. I've retired from making models because I really don't think it is very helpful or useful to say to students, hey, this is how you should do it. Again, it has to come from an understanding of the foundation, the value foundation. And once they understand, they are very smart and bright people. Once they understand, then in their practice, it will automatically come. So I don't believe in these top-down models where, scholars and academicians make up a model and then say that if you follow this model, you will be behaving ethically. Because that ethical behavior doesn't come from that model, it comes from the person.
Thank you very much for your kind justification, and thank you for your time. You have given a very valuable time to us. Thank you very much.